Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirisho here, and now, before we do begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a lot of things happening. We had Deku. Deku, he got back from an S-ranked quest he soloed, and he had a lot to do. Now, Izuku, he was able to turn in the quest at the guild and request for aid dealing with the monster's body. And when people arrived, they saw how devastated this thing was. It was covered in ice, had broken limbs scattered in multiple places, and had its large body majoritively smashed. And it was hit by two large glaciers. So yeah, salvaging parts from this thing, it's going to be a challenge, but not impossible. In the kingdom, they are thankful for Deku bringing this thing down, along with the neighboring empire that he was technically on land of. Now, it is going to be split between these two locations. And Izuku, right now, he is dealing with another problem. Right now the system has decided to update, and each one of the heroes, they have discovered the event calendar, along with the quest calendar, and now challenges are a part of this new tab. Izuku, he reached rank 105 and gained more abilities. He gained an ability called Spider's Blood, where his blood is acidic, along with gaining another part immunity to poison. He also gained the ability Wound Manipulation, where he can manipulate the injuries of people that he strikes. Now, this power seemed horrible at first. It seemed barbaric, but upon realizing what exactly he can do, make injuries worse or better, he specced into it, since it may secretly be a healing power, but turned towards combat and geared this direction. He even talked to Theodore, and the man, he was quite impressed with Deku for coming back within a month. And we do have Indra. She saw Deku whenever he came back. She saw the damage to the spider, and she was able to find out exactly what happened to him. She is being left in the dust. A human is surpassing her. She is the daughter of Atrigue the Red Dragon, and she is supposed to be powerful, supposed to be strong. And her ego has definitely received quite the shot, since Deku is punching a hole straight through a sign. Now, this does mean a bit. We do have the next morning. Izuku, he does it to wake up. Him with a lot going through his mind as he does go to sit up, stretching a bit and trying to think, turning his head and finding Pyra laying down next to him. Bring his hand up and going to wrap hers in his, pulling it away and going to stand, sitting for a second and trying to think. He's definitely glad to be out of that dungeon, though he's supposed to go down into the Underdark. Or at the very least, a place with similar conditions to that dungeon. That's another issue of his. That place was dark. It was hard to keep track of time sometimes, and it was surely dangerous. One misstep and he could have been poisoned again. One wrong calculation and things would have been a lot worse. He made it out, but it definitely affected him mentally. And right now, he does even think about the Geas and the vampire. This annoying him, bringing his hand up and messing with the beads on the left side of his hair. And this long strand of hair, he does get a grab, holding up in front of his face, seeing the length on it. Theodore mentioned it might be time to trim it. His hair is getting long again, and maybe in another month or so, he'll be able to pull it back into another ponytail. Right. He definitely should cut this lock of hair. Figure out where to put the new braid. Or, yeah, the new braid. It's been a few weeks, so it's about that time to rebraid it anyway. Him staring at them. There are a few black beads here, but there is an orange one, showing he took out an S-ranked quest. And then there is even a blue one, showing that he mastered the element. And that he does like. It's incredible. Theodore mentioned that beads do have color significances. He's seen people wearing a few of them, even a man wearing one in his beard. Blue is the element of ice, and it is even the element of water. But he's even talked about how mastery of these elements could also be signified with a white bead. It's interesting. And he does have an idea. He knows Theodore already undid part of it, but he's got points to spend. And hiding them from him won't be done for very long. Him standing up and making his way out of the room sneakily, letting Pyra sleep as he does make his way downstairs, heading down the staircase and sniffing the air, finding that there are still some baked goods here. And this does make him quite happy. Going to grab one and sit down with a plate, as right now he does go to open his list, eating his sweet and trying to think. Seeing the way everything's updated, it's a lot more organized. There's the section over there for quest, challenges, and abilities. Then there's his inventory, and then there's one that does contain everything else. His magical power, the skill tree, his physical capabilities, things like that. Him opening the skill tree, watching as it does it open and then branch off into powers he does have. And this, it does surprise him, watching as connections are forming and the glow of elements does go to shine, showing that he is starting to meet requirements for certain things, turning and going over to the physical power tab. And this, it does go to show off one stat at 0, one that was not there the other day. And this ability intrigues him. Power. Clicking on this and getting details. Power will allow you to increase physical durability, be it against magical attacks in general, bludgeoning and slashing attacks. Increases the power in your body, makes you more durable and resistant to damage. Staring at this, it cost 5 points a level. Okay, so at level 25, that will increase to 10 points? That's 2 levels for 1 in this ability. Okay, he's got 90 points, leveling it up to level 1. And he does get to feel exactly how powerful he does get to gain. Feeling his muscles go to tighten before they go to loosen. Feeling his bones get a little denser. And this odd feeling does rush through him. Him clicking on it till he reaches level 5. As he does a stand and bring his hands up, going to stare at them. Yeah, no, okay, that it definitely is worth the cost. Jesus. He feels incredible staring at that. And the system does inform him. His bone density has increased. Muscle density has also increased. Physical density increased overall in general. And that does tell him one thing. That ability in the long run is not for the faint of heart. Though why is it being available now? Going to look over towards his magical abilities. he's still got 70 points. Okay, so let's do some math here. He can max out water magic. And then what will it turn into? Will it combine with Sub-Zero magic? That would be interesting. But after that, he does still have a bit of points. So, okay, raw magic's at level 13. He can probably get it to level 30. And then use the rest of the points in slime magic? Him maxing out his ability. Him getting experience for mastering water magic. Getting the rush of experience, and then putting points in a raw magic. Finding it going to level 31. Putting the last point in slime magic, and they're going to sit there. Watching on as he's bring his hands up. And he does begin to gather a massive amount of water through the air. Feeling that. And this, it is nice. It's incredible. And he does it a stand, making his way outside because he does want to test his abilities. But it is his day off. And when he does it to step outside, he does see Oliver training. Him swinging around his hammer as there is even Indra, who is currently doing her own physical training. And she is being quite intense with it. Her throwing punches through the air while wearing weights. And she does seem to be sweating quite profusely. Izuku making his way over. And Theodore does sit there with his hands up. Right now, him going to hold on to a cup of tea. Izuku expressing, walking over and sitting down. If they can have a chat about your Geas and your vampire problem? Not exactly, no. What is it, Izuku? I'm thinking of a few things. It's about training and the event in 3 weeks. Yes. I'm going to turn. What about that? Well, I mean, I was just going to ask, what do you think that I should do? I think that you should go on and face it. If this is an event for heroes, then all of you must be there. That is already well established. I know, but what type of training do you think I should do? Izuku, I have my suspicions. You said it was a cataclysm of elements? Along those words. And I fear this might be a break from the elemental plane. A break? Something coming from another land to this one. Not like how you have, however. It comes from a different realm of reality. That is as much as I know. Those realms are not known much about, and it is believed that we do draw elemental powers from them, but going there is dangerous. Highly so. Not for the faint of heart, and I would not recommend it to you. Right now, however, this is not the only reason why you've come to me. Is it? No. I've mastered water magic. I'm looking at Deku. And he does get a stare at him. Quite bewildered for a second. Surprised. And Izuku, he does get to bring his hands together. Going to express. He has. Going to pull his hands apart as letters do to form in the air. Him watching them do so. Before he is to turn his head and going to send his spears blasting out directly at the trees. And Theodore does a watch on. Izuku using small balls of water to eviscerate a tree. And this does cause him to drop his tea. Before he is to bring his head down and whisper something. Before he does it to catch the cup. And that does make him quite happy. It floating back up and coming to his hand. Expressing. How did he do this? I had points to spend. My system's been updating and it's gotten better. It has. That is interesting. You've mastered 2 elements within a week, and you only did an S-ranked quest. Indra walking over, expressing if he's being serious, crossing her arms, which Izuku does explain. He gained a reward of points, enough to master a skill actually. You're serious? You mastered water magic? Right now, Oliver walking over, congratulating Izuku and talking about it. That's really good. He's actually increased his enhancement ability. If he's willing to, maybe they can go a few rounds. He can see exactly how far he is compared to the hero. And that does make Indra turn, scowling at Oliver and expressing, she cannot believe this. He is certainly something. Her turning and walking away, flapping her wings and going to the air, as she does want to go train in solidarity. And that may not be good. Izuku turning and asking about that. But Theodore does inform him, bringing his hand up and pulling 2 white beads out of his inventory. That she does need time to cool down. However, for right now, they should talk a little bit more. Holding it up, and Deku does go to bring his hand up and manifest his knives from his inventory. Him going to bring the blade up and finding that piece of hair. Find the lock of it, as Theodore does go to bring his hand up, informing Izuku to move it lower. Before, he does go to hand the blade over to him, and he does go to make the cut, taking the lock of hair off of Deku and handing it back to him. Before, he does go to pull the beads out of the braid, and it is redone. And Izuku, he is quite happy about this, talking to Theodore about it. And this man is mentally cataloging how fast Deku has improved. A little over a year, and he did so much. Meanwhile, Izuku is thinking about the upcoming event, and he does have his own worries. His own accomplishments don't feel so big in his mind. And that's where Azoth does come flying in, him making his way over to Deku whenever he does land by the fire. Him rushing at him and going to try and lick Deku in the face, before he has to bring his hands up and grab him by the snout, telling him to stop. He has to stare at the creature for a second, blinking, and going to turn to Theodore, who does get to let go, almost dropping some of the beads in his hand. Has he been getting bigger? Both the two going to turn, looking at the dragon and seeing it. That's right. He has gotten bigger. Interesting. Theodore going to stare at Azoth, and the dragon does let out a chirping sound. As Izuku, he's surprised. Yeah, he is bigger. He was about as big as... No, he was a little bit bigger than a cat when they first met. He thought he was just getting a little fat. Or, well, he wasn't hunting enough, but... Can magic do that to creatures? Make them larger? He's almost the size of a dog. Interesting. Him turning, asking if that's normal for familiars. And Theodore does not respond, still just intrigued about this. And right now, he does express, perhaps it may be. You can ask anyone back at the capital about this, but he is unsure. And he does understand, asking if they're going to be out here training until the event. And Theodore does going to tell them they certainly can be, though he was thinking that they should take on another quest. But if this event is happening in less than 3 weeks' time, perhaps it may not be for them. But what about his new ability? Wound manipulation. Have you tested it? No, I haven't. It seems dangerous. Izuku magic is dangerous. However, you need to test it. find out its upper limits, and find out where you can push it. It certainly sounds strange, but I need to wound someone in order to make it work. I'm aware. Him turning to Oliver, and the man does physically recoil at Theodore's expressing they won't test it on him, but perhaps they can test it on monsters. There should be some in the nearby forest. Perhaps even goblins would work. How does that sound? But torturing goblins for magic? Izuku, they're monsters. They're cursed, and they need to die. It may sound evil, but ultimately, in the end, if you can save a life because of this magic, what would you think? I don't know. Maybe at higher levels. Or I can test it on myself? Do you really want to attempt that? Him staring at Theodore, bringing his hand up and looking at it. Thinking about this, if he does use fury, he won't feel the pain. But at the same time, he's going to be messing with his own body. Yeah, that type of pain might even make him pass out. And this does conflict Izuku. He's fought enough goblins to know when they're cursed and when they're not. But still, the idea that he'd torture a goblin for magic? I mean, that sounds unethical. But at the same time, what Theodore's saying does have some truth to it. This ability is powerful. And he does try to think about it. Even trying to read over the description again and tell Theodore what it can do. He can mend wounds along with cause them. He has control over injuries. He can manipulate them. And the man does listen to that word, injuries. But that does then raise the question, what does the body consider to be an injury? Him looking back to Oliver, expressing. Now he does have an interesting little experiment. Turning back to Izuku and bringing his hand up, manifesting a short blade in his hand, bringing it up and going to slash into his palm and cut down. And Deku and Oliver do to watch that, as Toth chirping out a sound. And he does get a watch on. Theodore beginning to bleed and talking about this. Now, he wants to see what Izuku can do. Use his power and focus on his hand, holding it up, plainly for Deku to see. And this seems a bit crazy. But Izuku, he does go to steel himself, understanding and nodding. Before he does bring his hands up and try to focus. And right now, he does begin to feel the glow of magic around him, for his eyes do go to open again. And he does a stare directly at the palm of Theodore's hand. It's glowing. It's very clear that his injury is present. Okay, that's odd. Turning to Oliver. And Oliver, he does have that same strange glow. But it does surround his skin. His arms, his torso, his legs, his chest. He's got injuries all over him. And that, it does intrigue him. Turning back and bringing his hands up. He wants that injury to close. But right now, he does get to feel it. He does feel everything. He's picking up information about Theodore he never realized. And some that his body doesn't make apparently obvious. Theodore's bones, they still have bruises on them. They still have damage on them. And he can find the points where they healed after long injuries. This man's body is a literal war machine, and it has the scars to prove it. The muscles, they are hardened, they are tough, they're durable. And the fact that he could slice his own skin with ease like that may have not been possible, but he did it. I mean, hell, he can pick up on the information from where that pair of wings on his back used to be, along with Deku even sensing an old injury, one on the back of Theodore's neck. And this injury does give Deku pause, as he does stare at his mentor, the man looking at Deku confused and talking about it. Is he going to heal his hand? And he does get to look back, nodding his head and going to bring his hand up, ordering the body to heal. And he does get to watch the wound. It, beginning to close as Deku, does get to pull it back together. Well, push it back together. And Oliver does get to watch on, watching Theodore's hand begin to stitch without the use of magic. And that looks incredible. That looks impossible. He's flabbergasted. Before Theodore does order Deku to stop, him seeing the wound at a third of its original size. And the man does then inform Deku to open this entirely back up and see what he can do with it. He has the ability to make these worse, so try to make it bad. And Deku does stare, before he does nod at Theodore when he gives him that look, the one that tells him that wasn't a suggestion. And Deku, he does go to do so. Right now, him going to order the wound with a pull, and the skin on the part of his palm around it does begin to rip. More blood beginning to pour, and that does mean something. Right now, Theodore, feeling a shot of pain immediately run through him, and he does stare at that, going to try and close his hand, but finding an immense amount of pain there, as he does look at the front side of his palm, and that it does have a massive tear in it. And as he immediately just started to pull everything back together. They were staring at that and watching it disappear, as he does go to stare back at Deku, informing him that power is quite interesting. It is. I'm seeing a lot of information I never saw before. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Oliver, you're injured, huh? I'm fine after that display. I mean, I really don't need you to use your power on me. Please? Come on, man. I'm not gonna try and make them worse. I'm gonna try and heal you. Okay. Looking to Theodore for advice. And the man does give him a nod, since to him, that wasn't that bad. Though Oliver, if he's gonna be here, he's gonna need to get used to pain. There's a lot of that in the upcoming training. And he does gonna stand there for a minute. Deku bringing his hand up and trying to focus on the rips and tears he does find all along his body. It's from working out. That's what's gotta be. The muscle groups from swinging the hammer, from going overhead, from moving, from lifting it. I mean, he's wearing training weights. So that's gotta be it. Indra's gotta be the same way. But if she's trying to cool her head after running off, maybe it'd be a bad idea to go after her. And this does mean a bit. Oliver feeling incredible after being healed. And this, it does surprise him. Going to throw a few test jabs and talking about it. He feels a lot better. And Theodore, he does go to smile widely. This causing Deku and Oliver to look directly at each other, since that is never a good sign. It really is not. And right now, Oliver does try to ask Theodore exactly what he's thinking about. To Today is Izuku's day off. Though some light meditation and being a healer wouldn't be out of the question, if you are feeling up to it, Izuku. Um, don't feel like you need to train too hard on my account. I mean, like you said, my day off, and well, I could definitely use this ability. I was hoping to focus on ice. I was gonna do some image training whenever I meditate inside. Try and see what the ability could do. I mean, I know what I need to do with water, but that might be my first priority. Especially because of how much experience I've had with ice a lot lately, so how about I focus on that for a minute? I see. Though you better be meditating whenever I come inside later. Otherwise, you are going to have a day off 2 weeks from now. And only then. You will need to be prepared for the event. That has to be clear. Yeah, no, I completely understand. Oliver staring at Deku, feeling like this ability may be bad. But he does try to look on the bright side. Had he and Deku never met, he might have still been that knight in the kingdom who didn't have much respect. His money has provided for his family members, his cousin, his family. I mean, he went from being immature, childish, and, well, very reckless to respected, to having power. I mean, he's standing here with Theodore, Sir freaking Theodore, and Voss, the man of 1,000 fists. They're his freaking teachers. It's incredible. And right now, he does try to quell that, as Deku does go to express, walking over and sitting down. That perhaps he can observe for a little while, and that does snap him out of his attention. Before he does talk about it. Perhaps so. And there is actually later. After watching Sir Theodore train, quote unquote, Oliver, he healed him again. And Oliver, he was back to work. This time Theodore going a little easier. Though he didn't want to test Deku's ability, he's not going to make one of his other students suffer because of it. And that is good. As we do have inside, Deku, he does sit there, on the ground in the living room, meditating. He's already mastered ice. He's mastered water. He was hoping, maybe, to master raw magic or even wind magic. Go for fire? Earth magic is one of his lesser skills. He's not that good at it, but he does still have that enhancement ring. But that's another thing. Work on his familiar skills, his scale armor. Okay, so Zagal. That is his opponent in his mind. That's who he's up against. He had powerful healing, but this ability to mess with wounds, with what he saw, what he does feel with his power, he could use it to turn that off? No, counter it. Injure him faster than he can heal. Literally use his body as a weapon against him. And this thought does give Deku great interest. I mean, it's an incredible idea. Overpower whatever healing factor he does have. Whatever that crazy regeneration ability is. It can't be natural. Can it? Or is it a skill? Something he made a deal for? He's heard many tales of deals gone bad. Some gone right, and that's a Fey thing, but this doesn't seem like it's Fey magic. Could he ask about it? Zagal. No. Something about that doesn't sit right in his gut. He works under the Demon Lord. It's gotta be demonic forces in play. A deal with the underworld? A contract with the underworld. That makes more sense. Though, Deku, he does have to shift his mind to other matters. Water magic. The way it does feel. He can feel the particles in the air whenever he does think of ice. Though there is the same reaction with water. He can feel the moisture in the air. And he can even create it. Hydromancy. The ability to control water. What can he do with that ability? He knows with a little bit of properties of heat, he can turn it to steam, control the steam, turn it to ice. He virtually has full control over water of any temperature. And steam magic could be a possible thing to know. It's a sub variation, but it's a mix of the two. And that does give him great pause for other ideas. I mean, fire and wind could be used to create greater fires. Fire and earth could be used to make magma, right? But what could he do with water magic and ice? Well, hydromancy makes him control water at any temperature. Him thinking about that, for staring directly at his hand, and a thought does pass. People have water in their bodies. Blood contains water. There is saliva in his mouth that is made from water. He may be able to use blood magic. And this, it does greatly disturb Deku with a thought that does go through his mind. If he uses blood magic to create wounds on people's bodies, he can use that as a combat ability, a secondary one for wound manipulation. But that's another thing. He's never attempted to control ice. I mean, water that way. Create shards of ice in their veins? I mean, that will certainly mess something up in the body. But what more can he do? Crap. Maybe he should try to find a water grimoire next. There's plenty of abilities for combat-wise, but stuff like this. Learning it? Okay. He might have to put in a specialty request with the king. They can find traders and handle things that way. Grimoires that could be expensive. He can pay for it with his money out of his own pocket. Don't let the kingdom pay for it. He needs to carry his own weight. Speaking of which, he might need to go try and find that tarantula stuff. This is crossing his mind. As, right now, he does try to focus on ice. Going back to water. And then thinking about how to utilize this ability. What to do. He focuses on his own veins, feeling magic flood through them, hoping that he may be able to use a little bit of blood magic, just seeing if it's possible, just seeing if it's a probability. He doesn't hear anything from his system. But then there's where he does feel weightless. This sudden relaxation of all his muscles untensing. And he doesn't open his eyes. As, that's odd. He's staring at the ceiling and he can't move his neck. For he's a blink, trying to think about exactly what's happening. Right now, him gonna realize he can't move any muscle in his body. And that's not good. Trying to think. Refocusing and gonna feel himself reform. Right now, Deku laying there for a second as he does look down. His hands are turning back to normal. His body is turning back to normal. His head feels a bit odd. And right now, he does look down, watching as his legs do reform from the liquid on the ground, and that was something. Okay, so apparently he could do that. He'll keep that in mind. That's a thing. Could he turn into ice? No, wait. If he can fully master an ability like that, bring his hand up, thinking about it, and going to form liquid in the air. As he does begin to shape a few things and try to concentrate. As right now the ice does begin to form, and the water does begin to shift in tone. Right now, him trying to focus on reforming it the same way he did before. And a copy of him is made when he does it to pour raw magic into the equation. And this, it does give him an idea. Where Pyra does step into the room, watching a floating head of Deku float in front of the other one. Her screaming a bit in surprise as the construct does get a drop, turning back into water and hitting the ground. Him jumping up and turning, as she does get to talk about how that scared her. Sorry. You're up late? I was kept up late. But what was that? I've mastered water magic. What? But I thought I know it's a long story. How long was I out? It's not even past noon. Though I figured you'd want to sleep. I'm surprised you don't. I do, but it's my day off. I've been exploring the system a bit, and it's been changing. I'm denser, I guess. You can be dense sometimes, but I don't know if that's what you mean. No, I mean my durability, my bones breaking, getting stabbed a lot. Apparently, the system now allows me to increase that so it doesn't happen as often. Really? Yeah. And there's also a lot more magics that I can perform. But I'm also realizing a few things. With all the magical types we know, there's advanced forms. I mean, fire magic and explosion magic are very closely linked together. But fire is caused by friction. And explosions are caused by, I would suggest, compressed friction. I think that's the best way to explain it to an elf. Or, sorry, to someone in this world. Her staring at Deku, as he does to express. He's not used to trying to explain science. In his world, they deal with science a lot. There was no magic. She has to give him that bit of leeway. We do have science here, Izuku. It's just with magic involved. Heavily so, and it's more something, I don't really know how to explain that myself. Him snapping his fingers, pointing at her and expressing, ha. See? She can't blame him for that one. As he does get a walk over, her bringing her hands up and realizing something, asking if he cut his hair. To which he does get a turn, showing off the shorter braid about how it was about time. Someone would have tried to grab it in combat. At some point. True. But what are you planning for the day? Not much. I know the court still did want to talk to me, but I left before that could happen. So I might try to contact Lillian or King Solomon. Try to talk to them and let them know what I did. If the kingdom is dealing with half of the spider and the other kingdom is dealing with that, then it's fine. I don't really care about it, but I do want my piece of the pie. I get it. Yeah, I'll let them know how I've been doing, and afterwards, I'm going to leave. Though I'm uncertain about a few things. The event, it's still in my mind. We're supposed to get more information, but I don't know if I should worry about it yet. And with this new form of magic, I can heal and hurt people. And I don't know how to feel about that. Her bring her hands up, grabbing Deku by his hand and telling him, today is not a day to worry about this. He can call Lillian later. Talk to Sir Theodore a bit more about this vampire problem he's talked about. Is he sure it's the same one? It is, and it wants my blood. Speaking of which, I need to look a bit more into Aegeus, or any way to figure this out. If it's got something to do with binding magic, then it'll work. But I don't know about making a deal with it if I'm unsure about it. Right. No, don't leave me alone. Her surprised. Deku bringing his left hand up and pulling her in to a kiss. Her caught off guard, but still happy. In her tail, Deku does get to hear it whack behind her, as he does slowly pull away and tell her. He's sorry he hasn't mentioned much about it. How is she feeling? Fine. How are you really feeling? Terrified? My family might not recognize me, and my own sister looked at me like I was a stranger. I can't follow heritage or tradition, and everything I know feels twisted. My sense of smell, my sense of hearing, and I might break my family's bow. It's a sacred heirloom to us, Izuku. One day I'm supposed to pass it down to my son or my daughter, or one of my children. And if I break it, then it could cost a fortune to fix. The tape might work, but there's more to it than that. There's a lot more. I would have to take it to a special person to do that. And it's more than that. I'm not typically following traditions anymore. Our people are... We're not dying out anymore, but it's... I get it. You're fine. We'll spend the day, okay? It's my day off. I'm assuming you need a break too. But I don't think they'll fault you for that. Her nodding. Happy that Deku is trying to reassure her. And they do spend the evening together. As we do cut to later. Whenever Indra came back, she heard about Deku's ability. And upon Theodore instructing her to allow Deku to use it on her, she was quite surprised. She felt fully healed, and her muscles, they no longer were full of aches. Though Izuku, he told Theodore about what she was doing. She pushed herself to the point where she nearly tore something in her arm. And the man, he ordered her to calm down on training. And if she is going to try and sneak off for more, then he is going to knock her around if she does want to try something so intense. And she does try to bite back at the man. However, she does get to stop, asking the man if they can increase her weights. And he does it to pull her aside to talk to her about this. before they do go to have dinner out back. And right now, everyone, they are sitting around the campfire. Deku, he has had a bit of time, but much of it was spent with Pyra. Some of it was spent gathering another plan. And Theodore, he does go to express to Izuku that his idea does seem sound, but it also does seem crazy. Is he really willing to accept that? I am. But it's a bit disturbing to me. I mean, everything I've seen in my system doesn't tell me much. But everything you've told me and everything she might know, it could be valuable to us. Nizuku, slave magic I don't feel is the right route for this. I don't think so either. But a Geas? I mean, it might be the better option. It gives her more leeway. But I'm not sure. Binding her to you? That's a last resort. Trying to discuss this tactic. I mean, there's multiple ways this can go down. And while they do go over a bit more, there is where the vampire, she finally does show up. Her going to step around the house as Deku, he does get to turn his head. Him with a sword at his side and everybody there. However, he does not feel threatened. He is more concerned if this will get violent. And the woman, she does it a walk over. Her a bit wary of all these eyes on her. And with the campfire they do have, it does give her pause. Before she has to sit there at the edge of the flames. Right now asking if it is a way of calling her. Him going to stand up, turning and holding an open container of his blood, expressing he didn't know any way else to call her. He didn't exactly get her information from a crystal. But walking forwards, stepping within range, and she does it to watch Deku, who does go to have his sword disappear and hold out the vial of blood, telling her his blood is poisoned. From what he's heard, vampires are immune to it, right? He's telling her that right now before she suspects anything. Her staring at him for reaching for the vial, not hesitating when she's to grab it and bring it up, smelling it and asking what changed from last time. He didn't tell her then. I gained more power and skills. That's what changed. I see. Well then. Her down the vial and going to sit there for a second. And everyone, they do just stare on. Deku watching as the vampire, she does go to close her eyes and think for a minute. Before she does go to talk about it. That's odd. What is? You've been sitting here for a while, waiting for me? I have been. And as you know, we've been talking about it. You do not wish to enslave me. I would rather not. But we could possibly come to a bit of a deal. An arrangement. You're after my blood. Let's go off of that first. Can you sustain yourself on any others? No, not anymore. I'd have to drink in excess at first, but it's no longer worked. They've become unappealing to me. It's hard to explain in human terms. I have not eaten human cuisine in centuries. I see. So, that's, I guess, the starting point of this. You want my blood, but what can you give us? Any information? You've met Zagal. I know that name already, so I'm not surprised if you picked it up from my blood. Zagal is one of the Demon Lord's subordinates, working directly under him. He's the Rogue General. Rogue General? Yes. He is, I should be saying, powerful. Works under him, and has taken orders for quite some time. He's considered crazy by some, powerful by others, and some even theorize him to be immortal. After our interaction, I'm not surprised. Him turning his back to her, and she has to watch him walk over. Deku inviting her to sit with them and talk, as she does a stare on at everybody. Theodore does sit there, casually sipping tea, as so does Voss. Indra, however, does have her claws bared and ready, and Pyra herself does sit there with a nice, sharp wooden stick. Since this is the same bitch who tried to drink her entire blood. So yeah, while she does want to turn the other cheek, she's not gonna, since that just might be another wound on the other side of her neck. And when the vampire does come over, she has to explain what she can. However, when Deku does try to ask about the strange man with the bandaged left arm, she does fall silent. This man saved Izuku's life, and she is wary about bringing him up. He suddenly appeared some time ago. More than, what was it now? 15? No, nearly 20 years ago. He popped up. He was powerful, and he came from battle. But that's the thing. He swore allegiance to the Demon Lord, and he tries to kill him. That's surprising them. As she has to express, many tales have been said about what that man has given to try and fight, and it's a way for him to pass time. The Demon Lord lets this man try to kill him because he's bored. And it does fit into what the guy said. Observe them, then go into action. But why? So what else can you tell me? Not much. I don't know who the man is. He's new, and he doesn't interact with many people. As far as I know, he follows the lower gods. And that is that. Does he now? That's quite odd. Theodore expressing, bringing his hand to his chin and expressing. If he does follow the lower ones, then what powers does he have? I don't know. It's believed that he may have a patron. If not, he does have power from the Nine Hells. In fact, I've heard that he spent time in one of the hells, and he survived. And he's mortal. He's human. This is surprising everybody. The guy he met was human, but his aura was dark. The power he felt off of him, it felt unnatural. Whatever that guy is, human is not the word he would describe. And that, it does worry him. Trying to ask more questions as the vampire does talk about it. If they are to bind her, then bind her. She will try to help, but her contract will be fair. That is that. And she will only make it with him, pointing directly at Deku. And this does mean a bit. Turning to Theodore and expressing, She will not be taken for a fool by him, nor will she be taken by a fool by a lesser dragon. And Indra does a jump up on her feet, asking what the fuck she thinks she's talking about. And the vampire does a turn looking directly at her, as she does talk about how she's a halfling. She has taint in her veins, and that does make her bare her fangs and scream at the girl, trying to rush forwards as Theodore does bring his hand up, stopping her directly in place and telling her they can draw up a contract, but with this little information they've given, that she's given, not much of it seems fair. So, they'll see what they can do. Talk a bit more about it, but is she going to be following them? Perhaps so. I see. Izuku, him standing, before he does go to bring his hand into his pocket and go to pull out 2 containers containing his blood. And her eyes do go wide, staring directly at them. And he does it to hand them over to her, talking about it. If she does bring back more information, then they can make a proper deal. They'll get it written up. She surprised him. And hopefully this deal can be fair. Does he have her word on this? Bringing up his hand. And she does look down at it, offering hers, and Deku does take it gently, shaking it and telling her, if she does betray him, he won't give her more blood. He's learned some spells to counteract vampires because of her. Know that if she gives him any reason to distrust her, things will change. And she was going to stare at Deku. At first, she thought he was being kind, but then there was that threat, simply veiled, and quite well aware. Deku expressing to her, he knows water magic, and he does even know a very interesting one, since he can see the wounds all around her. Her body is deteriorating, and she just stared directly at Deku, right now fixing him with a gaze that doesn't have any words. And she does get a turn, going to manifest her wings on her back, and fly away as they do go to stare at her. Indra asking what he does mean, before Theodore does talk about it. Her cells are trying to readapt. She's basically going through a secondary change, meaning now that she only has one food source, it is a problem for her. Her body is trying to cope, but it's trying to sustain itself. Without Izuku's blood, she'll eat herself alive. And that, it was prevented sooner by Izuku. Indra going to somewhat laugh out. However, Deku, he doesn't like that. Her body is deteriorating because it can't sustain itself on normal blood. While that might seem like his fault, she attacked him. He doesn't want to abuse this. He'll give her trust, but next time for sure, he will give her a contract. And this, it does go through his mind. Right now, him heading back to his room, calling Lillian and trying to get an update as to what's going on in Granala, seeing if anything may have changed. And she's happy to get a call from him, updating him, and even passing along a message from the council. They're quite shocked at the S rank quest's completion, and they have gotten some of the materials he has asked for prepared. So, all he needs to do is come by and pick it up. However, Deku does also have a secondary purpose for this call, politely asking her if she knows anyone who could draft up a fair deal. I may be able to help. What is it? The council may not approve. The vampire who attacked me wants a geas. Deku beginning the explanation, And at first, the princess is quite surprised, then a little horrified at the idea of an old way contract. Then she's more surprised that Deku is trying to be fair with this, but he does want to have the upper hand in the deal. He's trying to get information for them, and she is their only lead at the moment. It's more than they've had in years, if not decades. And that, it's good. And she does go to nod, informing Izuku that she will get right on that, and she'll begin to draft something up herself. Him thanking her as he does it a hang up. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.